The note was one line on a church program scrap. Use your money for your brother. I took a photo, folded it twice, and kept it in my wallet, for years, like a bruise I could prove. I was 18 the first time my parents tried to spend my future like it belonged in their pocket. It was the week after graduation in Madison, Wisconsin, Midwest June with air that smelled like cut grass and store-brand sunscreen. I came home from a late shift at the grocery store to find my bedroom door open, my envelopes of graduation money stacked on my desk, and a note on top written in my mother's neat church secretary hand. Use your money for your brother. Love, Mom. My brother Luke was 16 and kinetic in a way that made rooms vibrate. He was also trouble I didn't have words for yet. Sudden new friends, dents in the car that didn't match any story, texts I wasn't supposed to see that sounded like apologies before anything happened. He was a kid in pain, and my parents treated him like he was a problem to pay. I stood there in the yellow lamplight and felt my lungs compress around a truth I would learn 100 more times. In my family, we meant you. We need to help Luke meant, Nora, you're steady, can you cover it? I'm Nora, by the way, now 29, social worker in Milwaukee. Then, a kid who thought scholarships meant safety. I picked up the note and read it twice to make sure I wasn't misreading a sentence I wished would rewrite itself. I took a photo. I folded the paper into my wallet because proof makes you braver. When feelings make you small. My parents weren't monsters. That's what makes this kind of story hard to tell. My dad worked maintenance at the university, came home smelling like machines and good try. My mom ran the church office, bulletins, potlucks, the kind of glue that doesn't get on flyers. They loved loud and panicked quiet. Money was how they spoke when they wanted to skip words. I left the envelopes on the desk and went to bed because fight at midnight was a language none of us were fluent in. In the morning, I wrote a reply on the back of an old AP history worksheet. I love Luke. I won't use my money for him. If you need help for him, let's make a plan that doesn't bankrupt one kid to save another. Nora, I went to my summer shift at the deli and learned how to slice turkey thin enough to see through it, which turns out to be a metaphor for hope. When I came home, the envelopes were gone. My mother left another note. We borrowed $1,500. We'll replace it before you start college. Please don't be angry. Love, Mom. They didn't replace it. The furnace died. Luke's license got suspended. My first tuition bill arrived with numbers that didn't care about furnace or feelings. I didn't explode. I made a spreadsheet. I had a scholarship and 2 on-campus jobs. I filed my FAFSA, took out subsidized loans, and learned to love libraries because their heat is included in your taxes. I also learned a line that changed every room I walked into. I can't do that, but here's what I can do. It kept me from vulturing my own life to feed someone else's crisis. You'd think that would be the end of the note story, a jagged little beginning that gets sanded down by time. But notes are like annuals. They reseed themselves in families where money and love swap names. At 23, when I got my first full-time job, there was a note on my voicemail. Hi, honey, it's Mom. Your dad and I are a little short on the mortgage this month. If you could spot us $300, we'll pay you back Friday. At 26, a text. Luke needs a small loan to get his car out of impound. We'll make sure he pays you back. At 28, the big one. We need help by Friday. We're 2 months behind. Can you help? By then, I lived in Milwaukee, had a dog named Mo who sheds judgment and fur, and could balance a crisis caseload and a grocery budget without crying in the cereal aisle. My phone lit up at 8:13 a.m. on a Tuesday. I recognized the somber tone my mother only uses when she wants to be the voice of reason while negotiating with panic. Nora, she said, we need $200 by Friday, or the credit union says they'll start foreclosure. It's Luke's fault, but he's trying. Can you help? I closed my eyes and pictured the note on my 18-year-old desk. The paper, the loops in my mother's cursive, the way love turns into demand when it's scared. I didn't say, no. I didn't say yes. I said, tell me everything. 2 hours later, I had a list. They had co-signed a personal loan for Luke when he needed to reset after losing a restaurant job. He missed payments. Late fees multiplied like rabbits. My parents covered 3 months and then couldn't. The mortgage got paid late twice and then not at all. The credit union sent a stern letter. My mother had responded with what she always thought was a magic spell. "We're doing our best." "Mom," I said, "I'm going to help, but I'm not sending money to your checking account." Silence. Then wary, "What does that mean?" "It means I'm not your bank," I said gently. "I'll be your plan." When I hung up, I opened a new doc and titled it The Plan. Not my plan, the plan. My job has taught me that people are more generous to themselves when their names are on the paper. My list had 4 parts. Stop the bleeding, pause payments, talk. To the lender, ask for options. Stabilize the house, buy 30 days with a targeted payment. Choose help that changes something. Credit counseling, not just cash. Decide what I will and will not do, my boundary, in writing. I called the credit union. "I'm Nora," I said, and my voice did the thing it does when I am asking a system to treat a person like a person. "I'm my parents' daughter. They are in trouble. They want to pay. They can't pay what you want. What are your hardship options? Here's a secret no one tells you. Banks have nicer doors than you think. You just have to knock with the right phrase. Hardship program, forbearance, loan modification." The woman on the phone walked me through an option that sounded like air. If we made one good faith payment by Friday and submitted proof of income and a letter explaining the hardship, the credit union could put the mortgage on a 3-month trial modification. Then, if my parents made those trial payments on time, the credit union would roll the late fees and the arrearage to the back of the loan. Translation: buy time, then breathe. How much is the good faith? I asked. $1,800, she said. By Friday, we'll email the form. I texted my mom and dad. Good news, not magic, but real. I'll cover the good faith with one condition. We book an appointment with a nonprofit credit counselor, and Luke is not allowed to ask you for money for 90 days. You say no. I'll help you say it. I could feel my mother tense from 40 miles away. She started sentences she didn't finish. We don't want to be in a system. We're not people who, it's embarrassing. It's a tool, I said. The embarrassment you're avoiding is being homeless. This is smaller than that. My father got on. His voice sounded like the first day of winter when the air makes your lungs pay attention. We'll do it, he said. At lunch, I typed a letter for my parents to sign to the credit union explaining the hardship. Job hours reduced during the pandemic residue, helped adult son cover a loan, got behind, want to keep house, can pay. X, with trial modification, request that option. I didn't mention that part of the hardship was a family script. Banks don't care about scripts. They care about numbers and whose name they're attached to. I called Luke and told him he needed to sit with us on Thursday for the credit counseling call. He made a noise like a cartoon saw cutting through pride. I've got it handled, he said. You don't? I said, no ice in it. If you want to be in this family, you're in the part where we stop making women save you. Thursday, 7 p.m. He showed. He was late. He rolled his eyes. But he was there. The counselor was a woman named Shauna who could make people feel less stupid without using the word stupid. She pulled my parents' credit report and highlighted the places their good intentions had lit small fires. She circled lines like a teacher who wants you to feel like you discovered the right answer. See this Best Buy card your son opened? It's in your name. She walked them through a budget that didn't assume groceries were optional. She put them on a debt management plan that lowered the interest rates on their credit cards and closed the accounts because plastic is a liar. We made the $1,800 good faith payment Friday at 9:12 a.m. I kept the receipt and the email from the credit union. I saved them to a folder on my desktop called Wallace House, my parents' last name, and I printed hard copies for them because paper calms my mother the way cookies calm toddlers and certain senators. Then I wrote the letter. I wish someone had taught my parents to write when they were 20. To the 3 of us, Mom, Dad, Nora, and Luke CC'd. Here is what I will do. Pay the good faith. $1,800 to stop foreclosure. Cover a month of groceries via a prepaid card at your store. $400. Pay $50 for the credit counseling intake. Spend 2 hours on the phone with you every Sunday for the next 4 weeks to track bills and call companies. If You make all 3 trial modification payments and finish the counseling program. I'll cover the fee to record the loan mod, $200. Here is what I will not do. I will not send cash to your checking account. I will not cover Luke's debts. I will not take on your mortgage or be a cosigner. I will not help if you lie to me about money. Rules. All money I send goes directly to a biller, mortgage, utilities, grocery gift card, no exceptions. Luke is not allowed to ask you for money until the trial period ends. If he does, say, we can't. Ask Nora for a resource list. Luke, I will send you job leads and a resume template. I will not send money. We don't use the word borrow unless there's a repayment plan on paper. I matter to this family too. Love, Nora. Then I hit send. My mom called crying because that's her instrument. We don't deserve you, she said. You do, I said. But you have to behave like it. They did. Not perfectly. Life isn't a 4-week makeover show. The first Sunday, my dad had not gathered the pay stubs. We rescheduled for Monday, and I told him I loved him and that grown-ups can learn. The second week, Luke texted my mom asking for gas money, just $40. She texted him, we can't. Ask Nora for resources. He did. I sent him a link to a day labor gig that paid cash the same day and to a Lyft program that helps drivers repair cars in exchange for future earnings. He didn't thank me. He went to day labor, he bought gas, he texted, okay. At the end of the third week, the credit union sent the trial modification documents. My parents made all 3 reduced payments on time. Shauna, who is now on my personal list of angels, gave them gold stars only adults could earn. They closed 2 predatory cards and set up autopay for utilities so they couldn't forget and get walloped by fees. When the final loan modification recorded, my dad texted a photo of the stamped document like a kid showing off a report card. It read, mortgage modified, arrearage moved to end of loan, new payment $712 due the 1st. Underneath, he'd written, thank you, boss. I laughed so hard I had to sit down on the kitchen floor. And then, because stories are not neat, Luke messed up. He borrowed his friend's scooter to do deliveries. Got stopped, the scooter turned out to be reported stolen. Surprise. And he spent a night in county. My mother called me at 2 a.m. with a voice that made me 22 again and clutching my wallet. We can't bail him out, she said. We can't. I know the rule. You know the rule, I said. I'm proud of you. We didn't. Bail him out. He saw the judge in the morning, got a PR bond, and spent 2 nights on my parents' couch because there is a difference between not being your bank and abandoning you on a Saturday. I put a list on the coffee table. Public defenders, phone number, the name of a re-entry program that helps with jobs, a schedule of free NA meetings. He circled NA. He went. He came home with a booklet that looked like homework. He was quiet. In January, my parents called me on a Sunday and didn't need anything. We're paying the mortgage on time, my mother said, like she was reading a new Bible verse. Your father and I started a money night on Thursdays, my dad added. No TV, just receipts, and we argue for 30 minutes and then stop. I told them the thing I'd been afraid to say out loud. I'm saving for a down payment. I want to buy a little place maybe by the river. I want to build my own anchor. I braced for the old words, use your money for your brother. They didn't come. My mother said, send me the pictures when you go to open houses. I want to see. Spring turned Milwaukee soft and green. I toured condos with too much beige carpet. On a Tuesday in April, I found it. A 1-bedroom in an old brick building with windows that made the light look friendly and a kitchen that said, you could feed people here. I made an offer with shaking hands. Joy is indistinguishable from fear at certain angles. It was accepted. I texted a photo of the front steps to my family group chat. My parents drove down with a plant I still haven't killed. Luke came on a Saturday and put together 2 pieces of IKEA furniture without swearing. He started a union apprenticeship a month later. He did not ask my parents for money for 90 days, then 100, then the whole summer. In August, I moved in. That week, my mother mailed me a card. Handwritten, my name in a loop like my childhood on the envelope. Inside was an index card with a sentence written in her tidy script, like a correction she'd finally let herself make. Use your money. For you. If you choose to help, make a plan first. Love, Mom. I put it on my fridge. I would be lying if I said I forgave everything. Memory is stubborn. So am I. Sometimes I still see the 18-year-old desk, the envelopes, the note that assumed I was an extension of the family's emergency fund. Sometimes I hear the older notes in newer sentences, and I have to stop mid-conversation. And remember, I am a person, not a plan with legs. But then I think of my father at his money night, telling a spreadsheet the truth for the first time. I think of my mother taking a photo of my kitchen and texting our aunt, "Look at what Nora did," without adding a price. I think of Luke showing up to work in a hard hat that makes him look like a possibility instead of an apology. I thought, the moment would be the check I refused to write. It turned out to be the letter. Boundaries don't mean no, they mean not like that. When my parents called begging, I didn't save them. I saved us. It changed their life. It changed mine. 1 year to the week after the first crisis call, my phone rang on a Friday. My mother's voice was half scared, half proud. "We had a pipe burst," she said. "We called insurance. We used the emergency fund. We didn't call you first?" "Good," I said, standing in my little kitchen, hand on the plant they gave me. "That's the point." "We love you," she said. "I know," I said. "I love you too." Help that breaks one person to save another is debt with better PR. Real help changes something. Don't be their bank. Be the plan. 1 page, what you will and won't do, and where the money goes. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're instructions for how love can keep showing up.